Look closely. What you're holding in your gaze right now is not merely a coin. It is a window, a golden window, into one of the most turbulent, dramatic, and fascinating chapters of human history. This small disc of ancient gold was minted in medieval England, over 500 years ago. It passed through the hands of kings and merchants, nobles and clergy. It funded wars, sealed treaties, and carried the weight of an entire civilization's ambitions in its gleaming face. This is the story of the English gold coin. And it begins long before the coin itself was ever struck. To understand this coin, we must first understand the world that created it. The history of the pound sterling is steeped in tradition, reflecting centuries of economic evolution and cultural significance. The name pound itself finds its origins in the Latin term libra, a unit of weight used in the Roman Empire. Physical gold. The word sterling came into use in the 12th century, initially referring to a high-quality silver penny that was integral to England's currency system. These sterlings were highly regarded for their purity and reliability, solidifying their status as a trusted form of money. For centuries, England traded primarily in silver. Gold was rare, precious, reserved for the wealthiest transactions and the most powerful men in the land. But the medieval world was changing. Trade was expanding. Wars were growing more expensive. And the need for a coin of higher value, a coin that could speak the language of power, was becoming undeniable. The noble was the first English gold coin produced in quantity, introduced during the second coinage of King Edward III, between 1344 and 1346. It was preceded by the gold penny and the florin, coins minted during the reigns of Henry III and the beginning of Edward III, but these saw little widespread use. And so, the age of the English gold coin had officially begun. Now, let us look at the extraordinary artifact you see before you. On the obverse, the front face of the coin, you can see a monarch seated in full royal majesty. He is enthroned, crowned, robed in the splendor of medieval kingship. In one hand, the orb. In the other, the scepter. The symbols of divine authority and earthly dominion. Around the edge of the coin, in Latin, runs an inscription. You can make out the word Henric's, the Latin form of Henry. This coin belongs to the reign of one of England's most complex monarchs, King Henry VI, who ruled in the mid-15th century during one of the most turbulent periods in English history, the Wars of the Roses. Nobles were struck throughout Henry VI's first reign, from 1422 to 1461, but a shortage of gold resulted in fewer coins being struck. Each one that survives today is therefore a remarkable treasure, a witness to a world on the edge of civil war. Now turn your eyes to the reverse, the back of the coin. Here you see the royal arms, the coat of arms of the English monarchy, surrounded by an elaborate, flowing design. And once again, the Latin inscription circles the edge. On coins of this type, the reverse legend reads, IHC autem transiens PR media malorum ibit, translated from Luke 4 verse 30, it means, but Jesus, passing through their midst, went his way. This was not decoration. This was a prayer. A talisman. In medieval England, a coin was not merely economic, it was spiritual. It was a statement of faith, a declaration that the king ruled by the grace of God, and that God himself walked with the English crown. Why gold? Why, of all metals, did medieval monarchs choose gold to carry their image and their authority? The answer is as old as human civilization itself. Gold does not rust. It does not corrode. It does not diminish with time. A gold coin minted 500 years ago looks today almost exactly as it did the moment it left the die. Gold is, quite literally, eternal. And what better metal to carry the image of a king who wished the world to believe his dynasty would last forever? Amidst the political turbulence of the medieval period, the gold coin emerged not merely as a means of trade but as a meticulously crafted tool of statecraft, bearing the weight of monarchic authority and projecting an image of prosperity and control. Consider what it meant for a common person in 15th century England to hold a gold coin. In 1490, a sovereign was equivalent to over a month's wages for a skilled tradesman, or, by another measure, nearly $1,000 in today's currency. Medium. This was not pocket change. This was wealth. Real, tangible, undeniable wealth, compressed into a disc of gleaming metal you could hold in the palm of your hand. Sovereigns and gold coins were therefore largely out of reach for the ordinary citizen. Medium. They were the currency of courts, of diplomats, of merchant princes and military commanders. When a gold coin changed hands, history moved with it. The reign of Henry VI, whose name this coin bears, was defined by chaos. Henry came to the throne as an infant, just 9 months old, making him one of the youngest monarchs England had ever seen. He grew into a man of deep piety and intellectual curiosity, but was widely considered unfit for the brutal demands of medieval kingship. He suffered from periods of mental illness. He was manipulated by powerful nobles. And all around him, England was tearing itself apart. The Wars of the Roses, the great dynastic conflict between the House of Lancaster, whose symbol was the red rose, and the House of York, whose symbol was the white, erupted during his reign and would continue for decades. Henry himself was deposed not once, but twice. He died in the Tower of London in 1471, under circumstances that history has never fully resolved. And yet, through all of this, through the battles and the coups and the political scheming, the mint kept working. The coins kept being struck. Because even in a kingdom at war with itself, commerce had to continue. Soldiers had to be paid. Alliances had to be bought. And gold coins, bearing the face of whatever king currently held the throne, remained the language in which power spoke. Pause for a moment and consider the craftsmanship you are looking at. This coin was not made by a machine. It was made by human hands, by skilled craftsmen called moneyers, working under royal authority, who cut intricate designs into hardened steel dies and then used those dies to strike each coin individually. Every hammer blow transferred the design from die to metal. Every coin was, in a sense, unique, a handmade object in an age before mass production. The first English sovereigns were of 23-karat gold, 95.83% pure, and weighed 240 grains, or half a troy ounce. The gold itself had to be sourced, refined, and carefully measured. Too little gold, and the coin lost value. Too much variation in weight, and merchants would refuse it. The entire monetary system rested on a foundation of trust, and that trust was built, coin by coin, hammer blow by hammer blow, in the royal mints of London and beyond. The coinage of this era represents the first step from medieval to modern coinage, and these early gold coins can boast an artistic achievement never before realized on an English coin. Cleveland Museum of Art. Look at the detail of the throne on the obverse. The folds of the king's robes. The delicate heraldry of the reverse. These are not the marks of a craftsman working carelessly. These are the marks of an artist, someone who understood that the coin they were making would travel across Europe, pass through the hands of foreign kings and merchants, and carry England's reputation with it wherever it went. The coin you see here belongs to a long and extraordinary lineage. After defeating his Yorkist adversary Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485, Henry Tudor, crowned Henry VII, heralded the end of the bloody Wars of the Roses and the beginning of a new dynasty. The sovereign, the coin that would become England's first official £1 piece, was first issued in 1489 under King Henry VII. It was the country's first coin to be valued at £1 sterling or 20 shillings. This new coin symbolized power and reinforced Henry VII's authority as a new monarch. Everything about it was symbolic, the king seated on the throne wearing all the royal regalia, the crown, the orb, the scepter. Everything was trying to cement his power as the new king, which was particularly important given the country had been in civil war for the past 30 years. The coin evolved through centuries. During the reign of Henry VIII, gold standards dropped as low as 20 karat as part of what is called the Great Debasement, a policy that triggered dire economic consequences and a loss of confidence in English money that took years to rectify. The gold sovereign stopped being used as common currency at the start of World War I and was eventually replaced by the £1 banknote. Physical gold. But the story did not end there. While it faded out of usage in Britain, the sovereign was still used in the Middle East, and demand rose in the 1950s, to which the Royal Mint eventually responded by striking new sovereigns in 1957. Today, the gold sovereign remains one of the most recognized and respected gold coins in the world, prized by collectors, investors, and historians alike. So what are we really looking at when we look at this coin? We are looking at a king's face, and the face of a kingdom struggling to survive. We are looking at the hands of a craftsman who died 5 centuries ago, and whose work has outlasted everything he ever knew. We are looking at prayers pressed into metal, at power made tangible, at history compressed into something small enough to hold between 2 fingers. Every gold coin ever minted was, at its heart, an act of faith. Faith that it would be accepted. Faith that its value would be honored. Faith that tomorrow would come, and that commerce, and civilization, and human ambition would continue. This coin survived the Wars of the Roses. It survived the fall of dynasties and the rise of empires. It survived wars, revolutions, and the slow erosion of centuries. And here it is. Still gleaming. Still speaking. Still gold. You're watching Coin Legacy, where history lives through the coins that shaped civilizations.